I think you need to step back, reevaluate your cause, and take in consideration what the victims and what these people are going through. And I yield back my time. I see it has expired.
Thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania. The chair will now recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm mixed feelings. Mr. Shaw, Ms. Durden, I am sorry for your loss. It was 40 years ago on May 29th, 1973, that my sister was killed, murdered by a black guy. And I chose not to be angry or unforgiving about that to this day. And I just wonder, why is it that you two have been brought here to share your pain about your loss with the nation? Were you called because we wanted to arouse passions and prejudices against people from or against illegal immigrants? Is it because we wanted people to think that all illegal immigrants are from Mexico, they're Hispanic? Is it because we wanted everyone to feel that all immigrants, illegal immigrants, are criminals or drunk drivers or somehow the scourge of our community? Is that why you all were brought here? I can't think of any reason why other than that you all are here.
Can I answer that?
And I think that this kind of passion and this kind of emotion really is ill-placed for our consideration of legislation before us. And I appreciate the law enforcement personnel who put their lives on the line every day. They're asked to do more, increasingly, with less. And they are frustrated because they have a job to do. And if the federal government can't get its act together, which it has not done, then it falls on local law enforcement. And there's nothing to, and it falls on local law enforcement. Prosecution also falls on our jails. The citizens are paying for that. But there's a deeper reason behind this that leads to our frustration with each other, and we end up pointing fingers at each other while there is money-making going on. That money-making, ladies and gentlemen, is from the profits of incarceration. And so illegal immigrants can be a source of revenue for companies like or private prison, for-profit private prison companies, skyrocketing stock value on Wall Street. Corrections Corporation of America, CEO Damon Henninger, back in the week of February 20th on a conference call to investors, assuring them that incarceration rates will remain high and immigration detention will be a strong source of business for the foreseeable future. Do y'all understand how public policy can result in dollars in the pocket of business interest. And so what's happening is we have turned our attention away from those who are making the money, and we're blaming each other for everything that ails us. And it's really time for this game to end. The private prison corporations are members of ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, that drafts bills state by state and introduced here in the federal government that result in these kinds of growth opportunities for business. It's wrong, it's immoral, and it's hurting, it's killing America.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Idaho, Mr. Labrador, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I just wonder if before I have my time, if Mr. Shaw and Ms. Durden can actually answer the question, because that's one of the most ridiculous presentations that I have ever.
Well, now, Mr. Labrador,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Labrador,
but I think if
I'm not going to stoop to the posture but you cannot come here and insult another member. I think that's against the rules.
I just believe that if you just call them out for coming out here, and you said that they were under
if you have a question that you want to ask them,
sir, I will do it
fine.
the way that I will do it.
But
I just
don't
think
get
it's
them
insulting.
to answer my question and you not have.
Gentlemen will both suspend.
And you not use your time.
The gentlemen will both suspend. Mr. Shaw, Ms. Durden, if you care to respond to the last statement / question made by the gentleman from Georgia, we will allow you to do so.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, I welcome their response. I just happen to run out of time. But because we are sticking to the time, I don't want to give Mr. Labrador 2 minutes of free time.
We're going to give
their time.
We're going to give Mr. Shaw and Ms. Durden the time, and then we'll go to Mr. Labrador. But
oh, okay. Well, then we can do it like that.
I thought you were completing a statement. Apparently, you were completing a question. Either way, we'll let them
that'll be fine.
comment on it.
I'm good? Okay. I would love to answer your question. We weren't brought here for any sympathy or anything. My reason for being here is to put a face to this. That I don't think immigration talks about older lady going to church and says she looks like Hispanic, so we're going to check her immigration status. It puts I think, a face on it with my son that brought a lot of good things to the community he lived in. He took care of me. He took care of his friends and neighbors and everybody. And he was wiped out because the guy who killed him in 2008 wasn't deported. He wasn't deported after his first DUI or his second DUI. A career criminal. It's almost like if I sneak into a restaurant and I act a fool and they ask me to leave, oh no, or I just come back and they say, no, you're not allowed here anymore. We didn't invite you back here. You did something wrong. And then I go back and they say, well, okay, you can stay until you tear up the place. And once it's all demolished, we deal with you. That's how I feel. So for you to say that we were, you question why we were brought here, to put a face to it. When I get married to a wonderful man that supported me, my son can't walk me down the aisle. I will never be a grandmother or mother-in-law. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, did you say anything?
Yeah, basically, I didn't like the way you did that myself, because you're almost putting like no value on my son, because when you said your sister was killed by a black man, like that made everything that we have to say non-void because it was a black man and like we're picking on Latinos. But what you have to understand is that our kids were here. They were living here, and they were murdered by someone illegally in the country. And I came here to let people know that I don't have to say that everybody here is 11 million people or more aren't criminals. I mean, I'm here to say that you have people here in the country illegally that are criminals. You have people here that were brought here by no fault of their own. My son was murdered by someone that was brought here at 4 years old. And just because someone was brought here by no fault of their own, you guys act like that gives them some kind of carte blanche to do whatever they want to, you know, and that's not fair. If you're here illegally from day one, you cross that border, everything else is out the door. It's illegal. And for you to act like if you come into our country, it's not a crime, that's insulting to all Americans. And to say that I came here for sympathy, you know, I don't need sympathy. You know, I get it. I think about my son 24 hours a day, and I'm sure you feel the same about your sister. And for you to try to make it seem like I was just brought here like some puppet to make people cry or make people feel sorry for me, that's not fair. That's not fair, because we love our kids. Like she was saying, my son wasn't bothering anybody. He was walking down the street, coming home from the mall. I'm sure like your kids probably do, go to the mall, enjoy life. My son wasn't bothering anybody. He was playing football. He was in the gang, no gang databases. He'd never been arrested, never been suspended from school. He was 3 times MVP, Player of the Year. He was running track. He was getting ready to get a shot at going to the Olympics. You know, so for you to make it seem like that our families aren't important and we're brought here like, they brought us out here like to like we're puppets, you know, to make fun of us, that's insulting to me, you know. If you had that nonchalant attitude, it's not fair. The same way with the attorney and the other lady down on the end. Same way. They never talk about the crimes and the criminals and the cemeteries full of dead people, you know. And they act like just because they're here to work, that's some kind of honor. That's not an honor. You broke the law to come into this country. You know, you brought your kids over here. That's equivalent to human trafficking. You brought an infant that had no control of what they were doing to a foreign country illegally, and then raised them like that, and then you want us to feel like it's our fault because their mom and dad is here to work. Where's the criminal? Where's the criminality for the mother?
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Chairman, if I might offer my apology to both witnesses if I offended you. It was not my intent to do that, and certainly I'm a black guy, and I think the point that I was making with that was that I'm not turned against all black people, thinking that all black people are criminals, and I said that to demonstrate that point. And but once again, I am deeply apologetic if I offended either one of you, and I thank you for taking your time and spending your resources at the call of this committee to come here and testify. That's not your fault that you were called here, and so I appreciate both of you. Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Idaho, Mr. Labrador, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to first thank Ms.